Welcome to Solo, the podcast that aims to shine a light on what it takes to be a solo creative. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's Nick. Thanks for being here. Shout out to all of you guys who listened to episode 1. Got some good feedback, so I really appreciate it. Cool. Glad you guys dig it. So today, we're going to dive right in. And basically, the topic of this show was sort of brought about by a conversation I was having with my buddy Scott. Some of you may know him as The Bun. He runs a webpage, Facebook group, and a YouTube channel focusing on baritone guitars. And he was telling me a story about how he landed a writing gig, a blog post, for someone who is pretty well known in the music industry, has a very big following. Ended up connecting with him, over a year ago, maybe a year and a half. And the idea came up about him writing a piece for this person's blog, like an article. And, the process in which Scott wrote the piece and the communication back and forth from the beginning until the point where it was finally published was a year, no less than a year. And during that time, he had many thoughts about whether or not it was actually going to happen, whether or not, his writing was up to snuff, and how the whole thing would go over. And quite frankly, if it was even going to happen, considering the amount of time it took. But the thing is, he stuck it out. He saw it through to the end. And that's sort of going to be the theme. It's going to be along those lines. See things through, even if you're not sure where they're going to end up, or what sort of outcome is going to, come of that situation or that opportunity. It kind of goes in conjunction with just start. Like you just have to start. I say it all the time. Just start. And then see it through. I felt kind of went along with it. For a long time, I feel like when I talk to people, some people see me as a little bit crazy because I take on a lot of projects and I try to do different things, and I do music and I do YouTube and I shoot videos and for freelance work, and have a full-time job doing a podcast now. Excuse me. And some would say maybe I take on too much. I feel like I spent a significant amount of time, i.e. my 20s, basically just sliding, drifting, not really accomplishing much. I got to a certain point in my 30s where I didn't want to do that anymore. And if I wanted something to happen with music, I needed to make it happen. So in talking with Scott, we were kind of going back and forth about situations like that, where we weren't sure what was going to happen, whether or not they would turn out, but that we wanted to see them through. And, something that I've kind of thought about in my own life and my own opportunities, or my own kind of situations like his, is I would say, and here, let's use this. We'll start with this story. So, me getting into video. I started my YouTube channel basically in support of my music. The music industry is changed, it's shifted, it's completely different. It does not reflect what it used to in the 80s and 90s when I was younger and growing up. So I figured if I can have a video aspect to my music, like a lot of people were doing, then maybe my music will get heard. That was basically why I started YouTube. So I got a fairly affordable camera without a discussion with my girlfriend, fiance at the time, who is now my wife. Just took it upon myself, bought a camera, which is something you should not do if you're part of a team. But that was me. I'm not making excuses for that dick move. But it was like, if we talk about it, she's going to talk me out of it, not because she doesn't support me, but because I couldn't afford it really at the time. I put myself in debt getting this affordable camera. That has more to do with my 20s and early 30s than anything else. So I started making videos with a Nikon camera, affordable Nikon camera, and I was off and running, making videos, learning how to edit, learning how to, do graphics and everything that comes along with it. Everything that you see now, like that's when it all started for me. And I wanted to do more video. I've always been a fan of movies and film. So I wanted to somehow start kind of expanding that area. Because I've always felt music and movies kind of go hand in hand. Many movies are basically kind of the finishing polish is the film score. And I've always loved film scores. I've always been a nerd for them. So I wanted to dive in to doing more video work. I wanted to see if I could even do it. So I had a crazy idea. I realize I might be saying so a lot. Apologies. I had a crazy idea. I go and frequent a local music store called Music Around. They kind of specialize in mostly used music gear. You trade in your gear, get different gear. They do have new gear, but they run on that trade-in model. And I was going there since I moved to Wisconsin, and have been going to music stores just to ogle at instruments I couldn't get. I frequented the store since basically 1999, 2000. And always good dudes who work in there. And I thought this was, I don't know, a few years ago now, 2 years ago, we'll say. I thought it'd be cool for a local shop to kind of do a video series on like local musicians or gear reviews and demos. Because there is some of that on YouTube at the time. Definitely is now. So I wrote up this proposal and emailed it to the contact for the store. And I didn't hear anything back for a while. And then one day I got a response. A little sub story is I was always applying to this place for part-time work. I was always emailing for part-time work. They don't really have a need for part-time work. They have a solid crew of good dudes. All the dudes I know now. Super awesome. It's like going in and hanging out with your buddies when I go there. So, for years I had been applying for part-time work because I figured, hey, if I need to make more money and get myself out of debt and support my kids and my family, it'd be cool to at least work at a music store and play around with gear all day. So I am saying so a lot. Let's get back on topic. Wrote up this proposal, emailed it to the owner, Scott. Ironically, his name is Scott also. And some time went by, months, and he got back to me and was intrigued at the idea, but wasn't sure if it would work. But said maybe we should talk about it. And we went back and forth a little bit about meeting up, kind of playing tag a little. Finally, he's like emailed and said, I feel like I'm kind of getting in the way of this thing becoming anything. It's a good idea. I think the store could benefit from it. But I seem to be kind of dropping the ball getting us scheduled a meeting. So why don't you go into the store and meet up with Bert, who is now one of my good buddies. And I went in there and we talked about the idea. And then we started shooting videos, and we've done a bunch of videos now featuring local Milwaukee artists and bands, and we've done all sorts of cool stuff. And at the time, I didn't even have a decent camera. I didn't know what I was even doing. I don't even know. I might have. I didn't even have a video light, really. But I, the point is, I wrote up this proposal, had this idea, and even though I wasn't sure it would work, part of me felt like I could do it. And if I put myself in a position where I had to do it, then I'd have no choice but to at least try. And then all of a sudden it came to fruition, and Tony, my wife, was blown away and happy and helped me get a better camera, the camera that I shoot everything on now. And we've done maybe 20 videos for the store. Maybe not quite, but 15 videos, something like that. A bunch. And it was just off that crazy idea, and then emailing Scott, the store owner. And then that led to me doing videos for the band Bert was in, Black Belt, who I've now done 3 music videos for, something I didn't think I was ever going to do. Something I definitely felt like I wasn't qualified to do. But they asked if I could do it, and I said yes without hesitation, and then I figured it out after that. And I owe those guys a great debt for having faith in me. They aren't the best looking videos in the world, but with each video, I think they got better. But they gave me a shot, and that was cool. But I put myself in a position to take advantage of that opportunity. So I wasn't sure how those things were going to turn out, but I definitely wanted to see it through. And if I made a shitty video, then okay, I'd learn from it, maybe never do another one again. But we have plans to do another one with those guys when the world gets back to some semblance of normal. And I've had inquiries from other bands, and I had stuff on the books before all this went down. And it was all because I came up with that crazy harebrained idea and wrote up that proposal for the store that led to all this other stuff. And, my wife, who's a little more conservative with these kind of things, with these, wild hair up the ass ideas. I'm a dreamer. I have big ideas. And she's a little more reserved, and that's good. It's a good balance to have, because quite frankly, I'd probably make a lot more stupid decisions without her. But if I feel a certain way about it and we talk about it, she's always been on board 100%. And when we were looking into getting a camera and spending X amount of dollars, she had the thought, like, well, what if this doesn't turn into anything? Or when I would put some money into, and again, this isn't her doubting my ability or being a hurdle. It's her thinking differently, like most people, thinking differently than me. And I'm getting to the point. She would question these things like spending X on a web page, spending X on, DistroKid as an example, to digitally publish my music, and spending money on gear like this microphone, about this microphone to record vocals originally for the very first music I put out into the world in real life with my buddy Jeff, the Partisan Component. That's the project. We did 3 songs. And that leads to another thing. She said, well, what if this doesn't lead to anything? And I'm like, it might not lead to anything substantial, but it could lead to the next thing. And that was sort of what I was thinking when I wrote that email to Scott, the owner of Music Around. Like, I don't know if this is going to lead to anything, but it might lead to something else. And then we did those videos, and then they led to me doing music videos. Those led to me getting more work in other places. I had never recorded vocals before. We'll move on to the next part of it. Another example. I'd never recorded someone else, vocal wise. And I was writing this music and shared it with my buddy Jeff, who's an amazing metal vocalist. Just all sorts of dynamics when it comes to guttural screaming and growling. And I mean, if you're into metal music and metal vocals, this guy is pro. He's legit. So, first of all, I was nervous and hesitant to share my music with him, but I did. And we started bouncing ideas back and forth. And then he liked some of them. And then I strung more together and ideas, more riffs, and we fleshed out a track. And I'm like, all right, come over, let's do this. And we recorded his vocals. That was the first time I had done that before. And I didn't entirely know what I was doing. I had all the principles. I had the theories down. I watched enough tutorials and classes online, and I just crammed. And I had been doing it for years. In theory, I knew how to do it, but I had never done it before in practice. And those 3 tracks turned out great. We didn't do them all at once. We did them over the course of a year and released them all as singles. And it's some of the work I'm most proud of. First of all, he killed it. I felt good about producing metal vocals. Not to mention, I stepped up my game with my music production to the point where I felt confident to put it out into the world. And then we published it, and it's on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere. And I didn't ever think that was going to be a thing, But those things led to other things, and then I shared one of those tracks on some video Ola was having, like maybe a live stream. I shared it. He played it and loved it. And I got a bunch of followers on my YouTube channel that day because Ola shared it. And then my channel kind of started to grow a little bit more from there. The Ola thing is like, I've been a fan of Ola forever, for as long as I can remember, as long as he's been on YouTube. And watching his career blossom, and then him starting his own company, Solar Guitars, and being such a fanboy, I told myself I want to be a Solar artist someday. And I asked him what I needed to do and figured I need to build a good following and have quality stuff on my YouTube channel to even be considered, because I wasn't in a band. But we do live in a day and age now where you don't necessarily need to have a band. So I figured I'll just put my all into what I'm doing, my YouTube, my music, make it good as I can, as good as I'm capable of making it, and maybe it'll lead to something. And I've been fortunate enough to have connections. My best friend has connections where we were able to go to the NAMM show. We've gone for years now. And I got to meet Ola, and we met face to face and shared stories about my music. And we've basically built a relationship. I wouldn't consider Ola a close friend by any means, but he sees me and he knows me. That's enough for me. But that's not a humble brag or a flex or anything. That's just basically saying, I just wanted to see things through. And I didn't know what was going to come of it, but some good things have come of it. I'm now a Solar artist. You can see me on the website. And I'm proud of that. I saw that through. And that's just something I do with everything. And that's what I think most people need to do is it might not lead to, if you're doing this kind of creative stuff, music or art or whatever it may be, you don't know necessarily that it's going to lead to instant success. And more often than not, it's going to lead to failure. But you have to chip away at it, and you don't know what one thing you do might lead to something that might lead to something bigger and better. One last example is with video work. I mean, like I said, I got into video to support my music and learned because I wanted to learn and I wanted my stuff to be good. And I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good at this video editing thing. And my step cousin had a company where they were basically going around and making workplace videos, job videos, telling stories about people's jobs. Companies would hire them, big companies. They hustled. They hustled these two ladies that started this company, my step cousin Abby and her, one of her close friends, Elena. They had this idea to tell workplace stories, and I was seeing what they were doing on Instagram, going around putting real story to job positions, basically, bringing people's jobs to life so people could see what they were getting into, An example I'll use is, we've shot video for United Airlines or American Airlines. And, they use that to recruit people. Oops, my bad. So I was watching what she was doing via Instagram and Facebook for years, and didn't know if I was qualified, didn't know if it was even possibility. But I'm like, what can it hurt? So I reached out to her. There's an age difference, so we weren't super close growing up. But I reached out to her and said, hey, I see what you guys are doing. It's awesome. If you're ever in the need for a video editor, let me know. And she got back and said, we're always looking for video editors. Send me some work you've done. And I explained it and showed her, and she gave me my first contract video editing job. And I was like, beyond blown away that I even had an opportunity. She gave it to me though. And then it led to more work, and then it led to more work. And as the company grew, I ended up becoming a full-time employee, which is where I work now. I work for them. I work for Skill Scout. And I've had the opportunity to not only just edit video, but shoot video for some major companies. And it was because I started learning all this crap on my own and put myself out there. I didn't know if I was qualified to do it, but I wanted to at least see it through, So my day job, I work for Skill Scout. I edit videos. I help produce stuff, work with clients and do videography. And I've learned so much from this job because I put myself out there and I saw things through. And I'm not trying to by any means say like, do what I do because it can get you places. The reason why I do this now is because I spent so much time not doing it. I spent so much time not achieving what at some point in my life I felt like I could. I tell people often, and I don't mean this to be disparaging to myself or woe is me, but I felt I underachieved after high school for sure. I didn't apply myself, and it was something that I even had problems with in high school. I would get to these points where I just didn't apply myself, and my parents are like, dude, what are you doing? You're capable of more than this. This is not a very good example of who you really are. And then sometime my late 20s, early 30s, I was like, I've been skating and I never put full effort into anything really, except guitar. I mean, I still didn't put full effort into guitar for as long as I've been playing. Had I done that, I'd be a virtuoso, but it was the one major thing that I stuck to this entire time. So I say these things because I didn't do this stuff for a long time, and like I said back at the beginning, Scott, aka the Bun, he and I were talking about this stuff, and he has examples of this, and I have examples of this. And I wanted to share it because I know putting yourself out there is scary, but you can keep trying, That's the beautiful thing, is like you can just keep trying. I had something clever, but I can't remember it. Failure is only as long as you let it, It's like, okay, that didn't work out. I'm going to try this again and adjust, or I'm going to try this now, or I'm going to try this. But not trying is like your first, that's one way of getting a certain output, and that's not even bothering to try, or not seeing it through to the end, or not even starting. How many of us have great ideas or dreams or aspirations and don't even start? So don't do what I did and wait to your 30s or your mid 30s to actually put some effort into something. Just do it now. If you have an idea, do it now. If you have an aspiration, do it now. A goal, see it through and adjust based on those results, good or bad. And I'm still doing that with my channel and with my brand, if you will. So cheesy. I've reached out to companies to see if, like, hey, I know my following is small, but I feel like I like your product and I know I'm capable of making some good content for you. And, I've gotten some bites on that, but I've gotten way more non-replies, no's. We don't need that. We're not looking for that. Channel's not big enough. Not enough followers. But if I let those no's dictate, I wouldn't even have had success with anything that I've had success for when it comes to this stuff. So it's like skateboarding. My son skates. I skated for a bit in high school. I have friends who skate. Skating is one thing where once you master the trick, it's wonderful, but you spend most of your time not landing it. You spend most of your time failing until you get it. And then you're like, I have the formula. I have the moves. I know how to kick my foot, place my foot, where to spin. I have it. But up until that point, it's been nothing but failure. So that's going to probably be it for this. That's the point. Start, do, see things through. That's the best advice I can give people. You don't know where things are going to go. The thing you're working on might not lead to spectacular results now, but it could lead to the next thing. That could lead to bigger results, and it could lead to the next thing, and that could lead to the next thing. So think long term, think big picture. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Thanks again so much for those of you who have listened, and I hope that you're getting something out of this. I know we're only 2 episodes in, and we got some ideas going forward that I think you guys will dig. it's cool. I like doing this. I I always want people to be better for themselves. So if I can share, man, I am the master of procrastinating, lack of effort, and being afraid to do. And I don't like seeing people do it. So if I can share some of my stories and it helps you guys, then F&A, right? Okay, guys, thanks again for listening. We'll see you in the next one.